The Ghatak platoons of 6 Bihar and 10 Dogra battalions were raring to avenge the Uri terror attack. They wanted to go into Pakistan-occupied Kashmir themselves. The mission was to attack the terror launch pads in Pakistan. The mission was to help the army carry out the surgical strikes into Pakistan territory late Wednesday night. This is to ensure that there is closure for the Ghataks grieving the death of their 19 soldiers in Uri. Here's an inside story.
They are among the Indian Army's most fit and motivated commandos. The Ghatak platoon lives by its name, the Killer Force. The Ghatak platoons of 6 Bihar and 10 Dogra battalions were pushed in to help the army carry out the surgical strikes into Pak territory late Wednesday night. But there was a bigger reason to involve the Ghatak commandos in this most secret operation. After all, they had lost 19 of their fellow Ghatak commandos when Jaish terrorists attacked the 12th Army Brigade headquarters in Uri sector on September 18th. Morale in a battalion usually takes a hit when fellow soldiers are killed. The Indian Army felt retribution was the best way to keep up the spirit of Ghataks. Having a better sense of the terrain along the line of control, 6 Bihar and 10 Dogra battalions were in a flanking role during the surgical strikes that took down 2 Pakistani soldiers and 50 terrorists. Ghatak commandos are equipped with the latest weaponry and are highly trained for directing artillery and air attacks on targets deep within enemy lines. Every infantry battalion of Indian Army has one Ghatak platoon which acts as shock troops, and only the most physically fit and motivated soldiers make it to the platoon. The operation across LOC in a sense brought some closure for the Ghataks, grieving the death of 19 soldiers in Uri. Bureau Report, India Today.
Now let's tell you about the man behind India's surgical strikes across the line of control. Yes, he is India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, who supervised the entire operation inside the war room and whose defensive-offensive strategy paid off yet again. Take a look at the legend of India's James Bond, Ajit Doval.
India strikes inside Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Around 50 terrorists are killed as the Army Special Forces penetrate up to 3 kilometers inside Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and destroys terror camps. This rare operation marks a tectonic shift in India's counter-terror approach from passive defense to defensive offense. This new doctrine, authored by National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. It advocates smoking the terrorists out of their hideouts wherever they exist and destroy them ruthlessly. This is how India's NSA explains his counter-terror approach.
One is the defensive offense, that is to defend ourselves. We will go to the place from where the offense is coming. Now when we come into the defensive offense, then we start working on the vulnerabilities of Pakistan. It can be economic, it can be internal security, it can be political, it can be their isolation internationally, it can be that this thing like that, of exposing their terrorist activities, or it can be anything.
As the Special Forces carried out their strikes in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, the NSA and other heavy hitters of the Indian state supervised the operation in the Army's war room all night. From this top-secret nerve center of military operations, the Prime Minister was briefed about the progress regularly. The operation ended successfully. Clearly, Ajit Doval's defensive offense changed the course of military discourse and response in India. The new approach is winning him numerous accolades.
The political executive got a good national security advice, and good national security advice came from National Security Advisor.
When Doval scripted a similar foray into Myanmar to hunt down militants in June last year, his hot pursuit left Pakistan fuming and jittery. Islamabad's ruling establishment bragged about its defences around terrorists and mocked Indian action in Myanmar. But Doval's defensive offence stands vindicated once again, this time across the LOC. The NSA comes with a formidable track record in his intelligence career. He spent 7 years as an undercover Muslim in Pakistan.
मैं जब पैदा हुआ था तो मैंने कहा मैं बाद में कन्वर्ट हुआ. उसने कहा तुम बाद में भी कन्वर्ट नहीं हुए. उसने कहा देखो पता है मैंने ये ऐसा क्यों कहा. मैंने कहा क्यों. उसने कहा क्योंकि मैं भी हिंदू.
Disguised as a rickshaw puller, he entered the Golden Temple to draw key information about Khalistani militants holed inside. In the northeast, he infiltrated the underground Mizo National Front and engineered up to a dozen key defections in the outfit. In Kashmir, Doval recruited rebels like Kukkapare as counter-insurgents. The list of Doval's accomplishments in anti-terror operations is long. No wonder he is called India's James Bond. Rahul Kamal in New Delhi.
From India's real-life James Bond to real-life Bajrangi Bhaijaan. Amid heightened Indo-Pak tensions, it's the artists from across the border who are being targeted. From Fawad Khan to Mahira to Atif Aslam, there are voices in India that want them back to Pakistan. Today, superstar Salman Khan came out in full support of Pakistani artists, saying that why are they being targeted? They are artists, not terrorists.
The answer to that question is no. But across the country, another question is being asked. What holds back the plethora of Pakistani artists working in India from making one comment condemning Pakistan for the repeated terror attacks on India? With the result that after the MNS asking Pakistani artists to leave the country, now one of the film industry's largest union, the IMPPA, has decided to boycott Pakistani artists and technicians.
Till the normalcy returns, which I doubt it will ever return, we should stand by our people, we should stand by our...
But the film industry by and large either remains silent about the issue.
Recently, of course, there's been news that, Pakistani actors should not be part of films. Karan, you're here. Your film is about to release.
Can we just keep it to the festival? I'm so sorry. Please, let's keep it to the festival. This is not the platform.
Or makes it clear that artists from Pakistan can't in any way be made to answer for the crimes of their country.
वीजा लेके आते कौन देता उनको वीजा हमारी गवर्नमेंट देती है वीजा वर्क परमिट हमारी गवर्नमेंट देती है.
India stands behind artists and defends their right to work and prosper in our country. But at the same time, Pakistan has returned the favor by declaring they won't screen any Indian movies until tensions between the two neighbors recede. Which makes one ask, can generosity and creative freedom remain a one-way street?
Several questions have been raised by the furor against Pakistani artists in India. What stops them from condemning the barbaric Uri terrorist attack, just like many of them did for the Paris attacks? Secondly, should their nationality stand in the way of condemning something that militates against humanity? And lastly, but most importantly, is it so simple to de-link them from what their country does? Because as celebrities, aren't you in a way ambassadors to your country and bear a social responsibility? Well, that's the big question that deserves an answer. With Lasapriya in Mumbai, Hardeep Duggal for India Today.
Mohammad Shahabuddin, the Don of Siwan, is going back to jail. The Supreme Court has cancelled his bail that had been granted by the High Court to the powerful RJD leader who was convicted for murder.
This was the mood when dreaded gangster Shahabuddin was released from jail early this month, after he was granted bail by the Patna High Court. Not only was there dance and revelry, his supporters also ensured that the Don does not face any stumbling block, quite literally. But 3 weeks later, the Don is back in the hut.
The Supreme Court has directed that Shahabuddin be immediately taken into custody and have further directed the state of Bihar to ensure that the trial against him is proceeded with and concluded as soon as possible.
Shahabuddin, on his part, had not pleaded guilty.
लोग क्या कहते हैं, आप लोग क्या कहते हैं, स्पेशली मुझे उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता. मैंने हमेशा न्यायालय का सम्मान किया है.
The Supreme Court order came on the plea filed by a father who had seen 3 of his sons murdered in Siwan. Chandrakeshwar had moved the Supreme Court saying his life was under threat after Shahabuddin's release.
जब इनको बेल मिला है तो बेल मिलने के 2 महीना पहले विधिक सेवा में मैंने जो है आवेदन दिया था कि वो उम्र कैद की सजा को जो है बढ़ाई जाए, तो वो वकील तैयार नहीं हुआ कि नहीं इस केस में वो नहीं आएंगे.
Meanwhile, opposition parties have hailed Supreme Court's order.
A relief for the people of Bihar and specifically for the people of Siwan. It's a relief for all those who were witnesses in different crimes, witnesses against Shahabuddin.
Law of the land may have prevailed, but knowing Shahabuddin and his political clout, it will not be too long before the dreaded Mafia Don finds loopholes in the system and makes his way out of jail once again. With camera person Nadeem Alam and Chandan Kumar, this is Rohit Singh in Siwan for India Today.
With that, it's a wrap on 11 Live. Stay tuned to our entertainment special In the Club with Sushant Mehta.